breaking hearts, and eventually all the rules. Maddie T, Genevieve, and Eric James. It's the Crying Gang.
Remember, guys, you gotta do it in one breath. This is the Crying Gang podcast. We're back.
Oh, we lost it.
Can't record for 2 hours like that. All right, yeah, so we're back. Crying Gang episode 5. This would be 4.
No, this would be
Our
5.
fifth episode.
This is the fifth episode.
Yeah.
4 by our very, very big mistake of a numbering system that we
Yeah.
started.
I
with
thought we were going to
episode
just not
0.
number them anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The new episode. Hey, we're back. It's a Just Us episode,
Yeah.
which I'm told people enjoy.
Yeah.
They like listening to us talk.
They've heard one of each.
One of each.
Yeah.
They prefer. Sorry, Jarvis.
Yeah. Ouch.
Way to let down all future guests.
Yeah. But by the time this comes out, that could have changed.
I mean, Archie's episode was real good.
It was
Yeah.
really
I
good.
feel great about it.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this one, you've already heard that one. And if you haven't, stop listening to this.
Stop
and go
listening
listen
to things
Archie
out of
episode.
order.
Yeah.
Why start with this one?
Yeah. Listen from the beginning.
Yeah.
It's-
Hear about the movies that
provided-
happened 2 months ago.
we never saw Love, Simon. It came
we
and went.
we
It
almost
came and went.
I don't
No,
know.
it's in theaters now.
it?
Oh,
Me and
shit.
Abdul went to the movies the other night, and Abdul was like, "What's this movie, Love, Simon?" And I was
It's
like,
our gay
"Oh,
movie that we're supposed to watch.
sweet, sweet."
Maybe if you actually
Gay
produced
movie.
instead of just took showers all the time,
Yeah,
you would have heard us
you would
talking
know.
about it.
Oh my God, his incredulous
sorry,
face
Abdul.
right now.
I'm not trying to put you on blast. You're doing a great job. Abdul's doing a great job, everybody. We love Abdul. Yeah, so, yeah, I guess we'll just launch right into it.
Yeah.
What made us cry this week? Should we do we do that one first? I forgot. It's been so long.
I forgot to.
Let's just mash it all into the same thing this time. Now, what made us cry this week?
Yeah. Let's do that.
Who wants to go first?
Everyone's looking at me,
Yep.
so
Jen's in the hot seat.
I'm a little bit sick today. But this is the thing. I guess I didn't really cry that much this week. But I've sort of like teased this a little bit on this podcast. This thing that I was like, oh, I don't want to talk about this. It makes me cry too much. I'm finally at a point where like it doesn't make me cry as much anymore.
Yeah.
But when we first started this podcast, I was like, okay, I guess I was just going through Reddit and I was like looking up things. I was like sad things, to see what people had for sad things. Really, really fucking sad things. And I was just like, oh man, that's actually like more awful than it is sad. But this particular one, I saved this screenshot of this guy who was talking about this story. I'll just read it to you guys. It says, a little over a decade ago, to make a little extra money, I worked in a call center for Amazon, who also managed Target.com as well. An older woman called asking about buying a couch and shipping it to a family member that just got married. At the time, there was no flexible fulfillment options where you could order online and ship to a store and pick it up yourself, so it was very pricey to deliver. In fact, it priced her out. When I told her that there weren't any options that could work for her, she just started crying and weakly saying that she lived in a senior home, that nobody ever visited her, and that she just wanted them to know that she still loved and cared about them, even though she couldn't get out of bed anymore. And then she just kept crying. It was gut-wrenching, and I felt truly terrible after the call ended. And that, like, crushed me for, like, a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was, like, I tried to, like, me and Abdul went food shopping, and we were talking about it on our drive we went to Market Basket in Hudson.
Yeah. Sponsored by Market Bags. Hudson. We're sponsored by Hudson?
Sponsored by Hudson.
Sponsored by Hudson. The
Hudson.
town of Hudson.
The
Town
town
of
of Hudson.
Hudson.
Thanks so much for your patronage.
Thank
you.
Yeah.
Your tax dollars hard at work.
Yeah.
And we were driving there and we were talking about it, and then we got kind of like sidetracked, but I really wanted to practice saying it out loud without crying.
Yeah.
So then we got back in the car, and I felt like I would just pick it right back up from where it had ended, and so I just started reading it to him without prompting, and I started bawling in the car, and he was like, I don't understand what's happening right now. Why are you reading this to me? It's making you so upset. And I was just like, it's an old lady, and her family was a visitor, and she wants to buy them a wedding present, but she can't afford it. I was like, it's like my worst nightmare. all rolled into one thing.
You're having a family or
All
the
of it.
nightmare-
Having
the
a
wedding,
family.
yeah, oh, the
and
whole
the
thing
wedding.
put together, yeah.
It's just so expensive having a wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess that's a thing that's been consistently making me cry, but now I'm kind of over it. Not really, but
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
just
I mean,
pushed
you
it.
didn't burst into tears while reading to us.
Yeah.
just now,
It's because
so.
I've had a lot of cold medicine.
Yeah.
Jen's sick this week. Abdul's
Yeah.
sick too. They didn't tell us though. They just
Yeah.
invited us
Yep.
to this house of pain.
Yeah.
I don't get to see friends
you
that
want
much.
Come
They left
deal
out
with us.
They left out a plate of damp popsicle sticks. Lick away, they said, guys.
Jen sneezed in my mouth when I was like, "Hello, Jen," and
Yeah.
as I said that, she sneezed into my mouth
Yeah.
and then coughed on my donuts.
Because,
Yeah.
we have extra beds here. You guys don't have
And
to
then
leave.
you had to
Never
say,
have to
bless
leave.
you.
Oh, bless you.
Because we're all very polite here.
But I said it kind of. I was like, "Bless you." Like,
Yeah.
Gotta put some salt on it.
Because we're all very real here, too.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Eric, do you want to go next, or do you want me to go
sure,
next?
no, I'll go next. I did cry this week a couple of times. The most recent one, the very most recent one was a couple days ago, and I had gotten, or yesterday, but you don't know that. It was a couple days ago. I had gotten a bill from Tufts Foster for small animals, and $150. Not concerned about that part.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, yeah, I'll pay that and make sure that's fine. But then I got another thing from them, and it was a card. I was away for 2 weeks, so that was like, so I had a bunch of mail when I got back. But it was a card, and it was just like, I know they probably do this like to every person, like when they have to put down, like, euthanize a pet. But it was just like a sorry in your time of loss thing, and then just like a handwritten thing, just like, know that you made your choice out of love. Roman numeral 2. She like remembered that aspect of his name.
Yeah.
And stuff like that, and then it was just like, and then just so sweet and nice.
Niagara
And,
Falls, Frankie
yeah,
Angel.
there it is. Yeah, so that was like, remembering stuff. I haven't put Roman's ashes up yet because I don't know, I'm depressed. It's not that it's. I think the only reason for this one, I don't think it's like some sort of avoidance thing, but I want to make sure it's in a spot where I like it.
Yeah.
Like, and so I don't want to just like put it up and then like have a risk of Janet knocking it over also. Like,
Right.
I'd like to have it like, needs
like
to be
that.
high up, but it needs to be in an area that like I would like to see it in.
Yeah.
And the other part was I have 2 cat dishes down still. I took the other one away, but then I used it for wet food, and then I just like in my head the next morning put 2 scoops in,
Wow.
and then I was like, oh, like,
Oh.
yeah.
Buddy.
But they're there until Janet finishes one of the bowls, and then I'm taking it out. Why?
Come on, Janet.
So, that's a little thing that made me cry this week. Well, when we go into our weeks in
Our
general,
weeks. You've
yeah,
had a week, yeah.
yeah, we've had a week. Yeah, man, this is gonna be like
Yeah.
such a whiz. We were talking about Maddie and I were talking about this in the car. It's just very amusing. Like we're having, like, in both, like I feel like in the vein of I don't. There's no ill will towards like Maddie's having a like pretty good year.
I'm doing good so far, yeah.
And my year seems to be pretty much reflecting the
Yeah.
opposite arch. Of,
I wish I could give you some of my good years.
Hey, man,
I'm
you
not
know what?
comfortable with it. To be
I
quite
know, yeah.
honest.
You're being so.
Oh, don't worry, Eric. It'll turn.
I know. Yeah, you're being so selfish.
I'm keeping all the good year for myself.
Yeah.
So I got choked up on Friday. I guess I'll talk about it more. I'll just roll that in my week. But I had a one last night. So I got home from work, and it was like, at 3 in the morning or whatever. So I guess technically today.
Yeah.
This is technically
Yep.
today that this happened. So I know there's some Henry Rollins haters out there, but I fucking love Henry Rollins. I think he's super inspiring. Him and Ian are like,
Yeah.
if like a weird sex scandal ever broke out about those two dudes, it would like crush me as
I
a
would be
being.
I would be
Like,
incredibly shocked. Like that's
Yeah.
like he's Henry Rollins would be one that I'd be genuinely
yeah,
shocked
him
if I
and like
heard
Ian
something
MacKay,
about
they're
that.
just
Yeah.
like such stand-up dudes, and like it's just like a sign of like when you're a good person and your friend's a good person, how you guys can like elevate each other to being like
Yeah.
amazing people. And like I know Rollins has been like a dick to people and like
Oh, yeah.
super pompous, but he's like a good dude. So I was watching like one of his more recent stand-up
Spoken word thing,
things,
yeah.
and he was talking about going to Port-au-Prince after the disasters in Haiti, and like he's like, so in my American hubris, I just like brought a ton of money and went there and was like, I'm gonna go help people, like I'm just gonna drive around and help people and do what I can. And he went to like he had his guide like bring him to a tent city even though they didn't want him to, and like he just asked them like, what do you guys need? And they were like, we need soap and we need soccer balls for these kids to have something to do, and we need soap just to wash ourselves. So he like went and bought a ton of soap and soccer balls and like brought it, and just got mobbed as soon as he got back because he didn't go through the proper channels, and
Yeah.
everybody was just so desperate that he like almost caused a riot just by bringing soap
Oh
to these
man.
people. And it's just like the sadness of it all like really bummed me out. And also like just Henry Rollins, like I just realized I had completely fucked up like in my American like I'm superior to everybody,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'll change the world, and like I just
Soccer
did it
ball. I can buy
completely
soccer
wrong.
balls.
Yeah,
Like,
soccer balls
haha,
and soap,
that's
yeah.
nothing for me in a
And
rich
he, like,
American.
got chastised by like the dude who runs that tent city. He's like, if you want anything, you can go through me. And like, also I have a cell phone. Probably didn't think I even had a cell phone because you're
Yeah.
American and you think we're poor. And you can call me if you want to bring us anything. And like, it was just like really sad. It's like sad to think about like the suffering, and it's like inspiring that dude like goes out of his way to go places that other
Yeah,
people don't.
and
wanna
has
go.
the like self-awareness to admit that like he
Totally.
like even in like trying to do the right thing, but like yeah, he fucked up
Sometimes
in the
you fuck
style.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know anything about that. I've never made a mistake in my life.
that's true.
Yeah.
It says it on those business cards you're always
That's
handing
right.
out.
Yeah,
You give me one every time I
Yep.
see you.
Eric,
Never made a
Eric
mistake.
Yankus Franco, nay a mistake. Nair, sorry.
Nair.
The nay's crossed out.
Typos don't count.
Yeah, there's no deleting it. I wanted an X over that.
It's on purpose.
That's right.
Irony is another thing I do right all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was my little cry. It was good. I have another one I'm going to talk about during my week thing. But,
Yeah.
that was it. But yeah, so I guess that's it. And want to talk grade our weeks? Jen,
Yeah.
you went
Yeah.
first last time. We won't put you in the hot seat
Yeah,
again.
please don't.
And Eric, you
Yeah.
said you wanted to go last, so
Yeah.
I will go now.
Boom.
My process of elimination. So I had a good week, I guess. Things are like going pretty good for me. I got promoted at work. I'm like seeing this person who's pretty cool. Who knows what'll come from that? But it's just been like cool to like hang out with the person. I was telling her the other day, like usually I like date girls that are super broken because then I don't have to deal with my bullshit, and it fits into my whole mental illness of like always needing to take care of people.
Yeah.
Like, but in this situation, I'm definitely the more broken one, and I don't feel all fucked up and like codependent about it. Like I'm not like obsessing over this person, and like I'm not like as like fucked up and like not lovesick, but like as I get really fucked up and codependent and like worried about these things, and I'm not feeling it as strong. And I think it's because like, and it makes me like want to abort the situation also, because it's like, oh, this doesn't feel right, but it's actually probably more normal and healthy, and it's like fun. So like that's happening, and I got promoted at work, and this has been cool. Like we've been getting a lot of positive feedback about it, which I say every episode, but it's still rolling in, so that's nice. And so things are going good, but I've been super depressed this whole year. Like my brain is really trying to tell me that everything's not right. So I just feel like I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop the whole time. We were talking about this in the car.
Yeah.
And so I started the week in that stage of depression where I'm so depressed that I feel like I'm living outside of my own body, and like I can't even sleep. I'm just like laying there not doing anything. Like TV's on, I'm not watching it.
Yeah.
I'm not sleeping. I'm just laying there doing nothing. Like I am too depressed to even like go to bed.
Yeah.
And then it switched over towards the end of the week, where the later half of this week I've been sleeping a lot, like way too much, like, which is good for me because I spend so much time not sleeping between mania and my normal depression of not sleeping. So it's like nice to recharge, but it's also just like literally just sleeping away every moment of the day. So So yeah, so I've been dealing with that. So that's like really overshadowing. Like I said, I am having like a good year. Things are going fairly well right now. So, but my brain is just like the turn's coming, buddy.
Yeah.
Like keep everything low. Keep yourself low. Don't get pumped about anything. I'm in like 2 bands now. Face paint's going good, and the new wave thing's been super fun. And like just things are like going well. I made like a big checklist for myself at the beginning of the year, and I'm like checking a ton of stuff off.
That's
like
great.
Yeah.
till the point where like all the superficial fun things I've gone through. So now it's like, well, if I gotta keep this momentum going, I'm gonna have to start tackling like I gotta like I know my mission was to like sign up for healthcare, but I didn't do it. But like now I'm out of other things to do, so it's the thing.
Yeah,
I
Oh
but
my god, I do that with
But I formed my
every-
new wave
Yeah.
band.
I did.
Yeah.
Formed a new wave band, started
Great.
the podcast. I did all this stuff. Got
Yeah.
this,
Still
like,
don't have health care.
Nope, still
Yeah.
not.
I do that same shit.
yeah.
I
Like
painted a picture of me by a barn. Yeah.
done. It's beautiful.
But so it all culminated on Friday. I made plans with one of my coworkers to go out to eat. So we went out to eat, and it was cool. And he wanted to go to our job at the Compass afterwards because he was meeting a girl. So I was like, I will go. But in my head, I was like, when club night starts or these girls show up that you want to talk to, I'm leaving. Whichever
Yeah.
one happens first, I'm leaving. Because I didn't want to be out. I was like feeling real tired and grumpy and sad. And so like I left there and I had to go meet up with Bridgeford. He was at Ralph's. He needed a tape cassette head cleaner from me. So I was like, oh, I'll bring it to you Friday. So like I'll pop in at Ralph's. It's 10:30. I'll get in and out, no problem. So I go in, talk to him for 2 seconds. Then a girl I know shows up. I talk to her for 2 seconds. Then another person shows up to there and I'm talking to them for 5 minutes. And before I know it, it's like I'm fully an hour and a half later.
Yeah.
Like, and I just can't get out of there. Every time I go to leave, someone shows up and I'm feeling very frustrated and very tired and exhausted and I'm talking to my friends Chelsea and Bill. I'm in the new wave band and Chelsea's really nice. They're a couple. And like I'm talking to them and we're talking about the podcast a little bit and just art and stuff. And like people just keep saying hi to me and like keep having these social interactions. And Chelsea's like, "What's it like to be popular?" And I was like, "Honestly, dude, it sucks. Like it's a shitty thing to complain about having too many friends, but it's like I am an introverted person that performs as an extroverted person.
Yeah.
And I didn't like there are benefits of both obviously, and it's like shitty, but I found my life easier when I didn't know as many people.
Yeah.
Because I could just go out. I could go to Ralph's and like see the 4 people I knew and just hang out. Or like I could go to That's E without having to have these like just go to That's E and just like look at comics and not talk to anybody. But now it's like, oh, I know some of the staff and I know people who go in there, and it just becomes this whole thing where like, and when I'm not in my house by myself, I'm constantly in Worcester, at least constantly having to have these social interactions where I like am forced to perform. Like I was depressed all weekend. I didn't want. I just wanted to go out to lunch with my buddy, go see Bridgeford for 2 seconds, and go home and be by myself. And my eyes. I don't know why my eyes. Itchy. I'm not crying. No, but
Do you have seasonal allergies?
yeah, I do. Yeah,
I know. No, the
but yeah, it's super exhausting. It was just super exhausting, and like I was telling them, I was like, it's awful. It's like heavy as the head that wears a crown. It feels like such a shitty thing to complain about.
I know exactly what you're talking. I mean, I used to work at Ralph's for around a decade, and I worked at for the 3 bars in the area, like which like between that was just like
Vinco.
where people just congregated, like that and the Hotel Vernon, like those were the places, and just like, and so being and constantly behind the bar on display and everything with a like, you see someone, and especially as much as I drank, going to those places, like, and of course you'd go there because if you're drinking, like, you go places where you know people, because that's the better and cheaper scenario to go. Like, but yeah, just like, so especially in that vein, it's like you can't put, if you work there, you can't just be like, nah, I don't feel like it today. Like, just like anybody that you know, like anybody that you like, acquaintance, whatever, comes in, and I'm sure you go through this as well. One of my things that it's like, it gets really frustrating in also like guilt wise, because I don't know, and I'm sure for yourself, it's like a name of like, I know like probably like a 16th of the amount of people's names that say hi to me.
See, I'm the opposite. My brain is so good for that. Of
Yeah.
remembering
Oh.
faces and names, so I know everybody. And like, also too, when you're like, especially now, like I spend so much time talking about this podcast when I'm out in public now. Like,
I know you were
tons of-
saying
yeah.
that,
It's
like
like
when
a
you played
lot.
that show.
We played that show, yeah, because I
And
saw
then-
you.
yeah.
We played a big show last weekend, and I spent more time talking about the podcast than the show. And the show was
Yeah.
wild and awesome. It's one of the best shows I've been doing in a long time, and like so many people. So like, and I love it. It means a lot to
Yeah.
me that people like are sharing and that this is helping people. Like, one person was like, "Yo, I was having a bad day and I listened to your podcast and it made me feel good." People are saying like, it's fun to listen to you guys talk because it just feels like we're hanging out with our friends, even like people who don't know us that well or
That's
like
really
Yeah.
know
nice.
me and don't know you guys that well. They're like, it's nice to just like hear people talk about this stuff and it's like buddies hanging out. Like I just feel like I'm hanging out with buds.
Yeah.
And but it's like exhausting too because I'm
Yeah.
like, literally talking about people's emotions, and I'm a person who like strangers feel comfortable just dumping their shit on me anyway.
Oh.
So now it's like 1,000-fold, and like
Yeah.
I don't want to discourage anybody. If you see me out in public, I'm choosing to subject myself to it. So like,
Yeah.
please talk to me about it because like I love you and like I love that we're helping people and like it's important. But it just like it gets so
Yeah.
tiring. And my job's a social job now. I work
Yeah.
at bars too, so it's like on top of that, I can't just like go to work and like be grumpy. That's just not. A thing I
It's
can
not
do.
an option.
No.
Like,
Because you,
I make a lot of
it
money.
revolves around you
because
making
I
money
have to
because
be
you-
nice.
yeah.
and I feel the same thing goes for myself. You see me out there, feel free to talk to me. You will probably just won't see me out there.
no, I was just gonna
Like,
say that's my whole thing is that like yeah, it happens to me too. No,
Yeah.
but I think that I haven't been going out at all. I mean, the winter's really hard for me,
The one-
and
It's been a rough
and
winter,
like
yeah.
I don't have a customer service job anymore. I work at a desk, and that was like a big part of it for a long time was like keeping me like almost caught up with like getting out those social interactions.
Right.
Like I would feel like I felt
I met my quota this
I
week.
met my quota. I talked to all these people. But now it's like I go out so like I just don't go out that often. And
Yeah.
so when I do go out, it's like I have to catch up with all these people. So then I'm just like, nah,
One thing that
just
is
gonna stay home, I guess.
yeah, I think one thing I'll say, and a benefit of it when going out, is not knowing all the stuff like the inner network of drama that's
Oh,
going on
totally, yeah.
between
Yeah,
people.
and
That part is really great. And the idea was like oh, you just have a conversation with someone and not know that someone hates that person
Now,
because of
yeah.
this, and it's just
Yeah.
but also I guess in our introvert aspects where it's I can still have this conversation. If I find out you're a shithead, it doesn't matter
It
because it's going to be probably a pretty long time since I go out
Right.
again anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then you just do horse blinders where you're like, oh, I didn't see you at
Yeah.
all. If you
Oh
did see
man,
them.
if a real suggestion for you from my time working there, the Ralph side door is the best because
Yeah.
I remember the worst part about whenever I'd go out, and this is exactly the issue. Is the worst time about going out was okay, I'm ready to leave. But if I start leaving, the amount of people that I'm going to have to interact with in goodbyes
Yeah.
is ridiculous. So it was just for me, it's every time, and it was I think after about 4 years I figured this out, and it was just settle up whatever, you don't have too much to worry
Yeah.
about, but yeah, settle up, and then go to the bathroom, and then straight
that
out the
side door.
side.
I do the
like-
Irish goodbye
Oh,
every
it
time.
I'm
is
starting
the
to do it
best.
more. I always felt bad about it, but
Don't.
like the other night when we were at that show for else, I wanted to leave. It took me 25 minutes to leave.
Because here's something I know
Because
too.
goodbyes just cascade.
Sometimes I
Yeah.
just
Oh,
lie
yeah.
to
Yeah.
people.
Because when someone
Yeah.
hears that you're leaving, earshot,
Yeah.
oh what?
and it wouldn't
Yeah.
be bad if it was just a bye, but you have to have
your
these
goodbye
minor,
words. Your
yeah,
goodbye,
it's
Like,
like-
bye, yeah, see you soon.
and,
Hope you're good. How's your job?
I am a person that a lot of people want to hang out with, but I don't have that much time, so I have to do these awkward yeah, we'll totally hang out and I'll see you later, and
Yeah.
I don't want to not mean it, but also it's realistically I just don't have I have
Well,
my
yeah,
circle of friends.
you mean
and,
the sentiment.
yeah, and
So
it's
that's the
I'm just at a point where I don't have time. If we're not doing something creative together like this or music,
Yeah.
or playing games, if we don't have a constructive reason to hang out other than just to catch up, it's we just caught up. That's,
Yeah. Oh, there's nothing. I just hanging, is a very uncomfortable scenario. For,
Oh, yeah.
To
I don't-
call someone up to be you want to hang out and sit
Yeah.
doesn't just
There's some
like, I
people
don't wanna-
I like
I don't
doing
wanna
that
do-
with.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
But
mean,
it
my
comes
best.
natural.
Yeah.
Right,
It comes
exactly.
natural.
But
That's actually how I pick my friends. Because,
Yeah.
a lot of like I feel really lucky. A lot of people do want to be my friend, which is nice. And but I think like sometimes people don't necessarily understand who I really am as a person because I am an introvert. Yeah. But I do have this really close group of my sweet hot babes that I hang out with, and they know that they're just gonna come over. We're just gonna get stoned and sit in the living room or in the kitchen, and just talk shit or like about whatever or catch up, and it's just like coexisting, and then we just go to sleep. Yeah, and that's it. I need a friend.
I just heard Abdul fire up your PlayStation.
God
upstairs.
damn it! I heard it too. I
heard the sweet, sweet siren sound of the PlayStation noise.
I know he's got that fucking camping chair all snapped out, ready to sit in.
Well, he can't turn on a Sega Genesis. Everyone would know.
Hey, God. That's the sound of my childhood, dude.
Yeah, I know. Always confusing the commercial with the startup sound.
It's that, and then the casino level music from Sonic 2. Da 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 da. And I want the whole thing.
We'll know really soon what game he's playing.
We should play that at the end of this episode.
Yeah, we should do a whole thing of just like, do you know what game I'm talking about? Here's mine.
Wait, that's Crash Bandicoot.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
I love that game also.
It's one of the greatest games in the world. Crash 2.
They just ported those 3 to PS4, and Andy, my buddy Andy, bought it, and I was playing it through a lot with them. I'm good at Sonic, but I mean Crash. But when they ported it over, the grid changed, the underlying grid work, so it makes everything you do have to be that much more precise because it's like there's more grid, so you can't even be in the ballpark. It's like some of those jumps are laser beams you got to do now. So,
but that's like that was.
I love Crash, dude.
That's my high school, man.
Yeah,
like Crash Bandicoot.
PS1's sick.
Yeah, Crash Bandicoot was my high school experience.
So that was my week. I guess I'd rate it like a B-. It was like it's good, but my brain's like just doing awful things.
Yeah.
And, but that's a pretty good grade. So.
Yeah, it's still good, but it's always very frustrating when you can't enjoy the nice things going on around, like
because there's like an underlying thing that's just like,
also I don't want to. I am grateful for all my friends. I just
say that. No, of course. I mean,
I'm sorry if
it's just hard when you're a people person or like an introvert who
I would like to see you 5 at a time as opposed to all of you at once.
Yeah,
when I'm trying to be very briefly out in public.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it sucks your energy when you have to just like be that.
I went to my car. I got choked up. And then I put on gangster rap, which me and Eric were listening to in the car. Not even gangster rap, but like late 90s, early 2000s, like Dirty, Ludacris,
nice,
DMX,
Mystical.
Outkast, Mystical.
DMX always perks me up.
Yeah.
How about a lovely period of time where in hit music people were barking at you?
Oh, it rules.
It was amazing.
I'm sorry.
That was like a classic thing that was like going on. It was like,
and I know they're all misogynists, homophobes, and I'm sorry, but that rap that I like is ignorant.
Yeah,
that's it.
Also, DMX lives in Nashua, New Hampshire.
What you really want? What you really want?
See, I have
give it to you.
I have no license, and my favorite song is Big Trucks.
It's cool.
It's a great song. Good job, Mystical. This is for my riders, big truck drivers.
I heard that he walked in with his dick in his hand, and he wants to make sure you don't leave with his foot in your ass.
Also,
danger, watch yourself.
Danger. Oh, Jen's going on the pee break.
All right.
Oh
no!
She didn't let us do it in her kitchen. I don't know what.
Yeah, and the podcast. We weren't talking about having sex in your kitchen.
We were talking about hating you, though.
Yeah.
Just clean.
Yeah.
Hate me. I didn't do that good of a job. I'm tired.
Yeah. Hate me all you want.
Just don't fuck in my kitchen.
Yeah. Hey, I don't consider myself a germaphobe. But did you fuck on these plates?
Don't tell Archie we fuck in this room after every podcast. We're leaving all that in.
You guys are really quiet. every time I go to
Yeah.
fuck here. I thought
We just don't make noise.
We have
don't make
nothing
any
to say to each other.
Yeah. After talking for 5 hours, the fucking is real nice quiet time for us.
I was just so tired,
Yeah.
Yeah.
emotionally
It's
drained.
just. It's,
Going for less than
it's the
30
least
seconds.
enthusiastic 69 you've ever seen.
Yeah. Oh man, I got a story.
About an unenthusiastic 69.
When we go into my week, I know what I'm going to talk about.
Eric, your week's sounding better than I thought.
know.
There's two things that I feel are worth bringing up.
69 is always worth bringing up.
There's two things worth
Do we
bringing
want
up.
to do Jen and then do you?
Yeah.
Do we
Yeah,
want
this-
to go with that plan? Or?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right.
Cool.
I just thought of something that was just like, oh, this is something that I will
Yeah.
like. I'm gonna give it. Ooh, here we go. Like, I got two stories for this week. One of which will be more fun and lighthearted. The other one will be probably much shorter.
And a cliffhanger.
And a cliffhanger.
We're all waiting to find out see what happens. All right, Jen, how was your week, bud?
Oh, it was pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah, we started off. I consider it starting off on Sunday when we played D&D.
Oh, yeah, we played D&D on Sunday. That was awesome.
which was great. You know, I had a really good time. The week before that, it was like it was a fucking bummer. It was just like cold. It kept snowing, and it really sucked. And I was sleeping a lot. Speaking of sleeping a lot, last weekend I had slept 30 hours, which is a lot.
Yeah, in one
Yeah.
weekend. Sure
Yeah,
is.
and then I
That's
saw.
one plus some of those days.
It
Yeah,
was
that's-
probably yeah.
Plus some. Yeah. That is that's a
One plus some is a really good
One
band
plus
name.
some.
that's a full day and then a like okay amount of sleep.
Yeah.
That's like my normal 6 hours.
Yeah,
is like
6
my normal
hours,
amount
like,
of
yeah,
sleep.
Passable. And so, actually, after you left, I took a nap,
D&D is super mentally exhausting.
and
like,
it was, and I was
It'll
just
usually
like,
take you a day.
yeah.
I hadn't been like that depressed in so long.
Yeah.
I don't think, and like, it was just bad. And I knew, I literally like, I took a nap. I ate that Italian sub really fast, and then I took a nap.
Was this because of the game, the depression?
Yeah,
It
it was really.
Yeah, they literally like we ended early and they ordered Italian subs, and then I was just watching them both eat Italian subs,
Yeah.
I'm
and I
so
was like,
sorry.
And then
"No,
they
it's
were like-
okay. I could have got you offered to like order me something also. I just was not into it. I had my heart set on getting gross McDonald's.
Yeah, totally. I love
I was
McDonald's.
jacked up on Mountain Dew because I
Oh, yeah.
always drink Mountain Dew when I play D&D because I like to
Yeah.
be on brand.
You gotta stay classic,
Yeah.
stay true.
Yeah, no, and you know, and I actually was waiting because you had talked about that before, and I was very pleased to see that you had brought. Was that Tall Boy?
A
you
16
had?
ounce. I also drank one in the car on the way over.
Oh my
so
God,
I was
no,
on
you fucking
32
did.
ounces of Dew.
Here's here's something that would be fun to
Oh my
look up. There's no time right now. Fun thing to look up is when Mountain Dew came out, because D&D was.
I actually just
76?
listened to a podcast about this.
When did
Mountain Dew came out in like the 30s or
the
something.
third? Oh, so
It was early.
So that's amazing to know that so Mountain Dew was definitely already around when
Right.
D&D.
They made it as it was like a prohibition thing because like it's so stupid. So there's this other podcast, Wizard and the Bruiser. It's on the Last Podcast on the Left network.
Yeah.
Like so, it's
Cool.
a sister of Last Podcast on the Left. Yo, Last Podcast on the Left.
Love that.
Put
shit.
us on your network.
Yeah, or send us to
Just listen-
Hudson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or send us to Hudson. We just want an all expenses paid trip to Hudson.
We're starting a Kickstarter.
I already forgot. Oh, Mountain Dew. So they basically just talk about pop culture stuff, and they did an episode about Doritos and Mountain Dew.
Perfect.
I mean, they do like a lot of comic book characters, and like they did an episode about D&D. But yeah, it came out in the 30s as part of like the soda craze that happened during Prohibition.
Yeah.
and they did. It was also to be a whiskey mixer. Yeah, I don't know. Just listen to the episode. I can't all the tales.
Oh
but
yeah.
Yeah.
it wasn't adopted into gaming culture heavily until like the 90s when they realized because they used to.
So what was the D&D like Mountain Dew before Mountain Dew was?
I have
I'm
no
really
idea.
curious.
I'll ask my dad as
Yeah.
a authentic OG 1978 Dungeons and Dragons player. I'll ask him
Yeah,
what kind of snacks
yeah.
they used to mount on.
I'm really.
Love to know.
I know this is actually a really sweet story about. So my mom, when my parents were together, my mom was like she didn't really drink then that much, and she was just like the ultimate D&D wife. They like had an apartment together. I remember like playing D&D with my dad and his friends when I was like a little kid. Like I didn't even know the rules. I just drew my character. And
Yeah.
they would like let me roll dice and tell me what
That's
happened.
really cute.
But it's also the first time I ever was in trouble because my mom wanted me to go to bed, and I would like yelled at her that I hated her because she was trying to make me go to bed before D&D was over, and that's like obviously a sign that I would play D&D forever. But
Yeah.
I hate you. My mom was like the
It's my
ultimate
character.
D&D wife, like who like now it would be cool if she played, but she like wasn't interested in playing, so she would just like watch MTV on the couch and snooze, and then just wake up and get everybody like make snacks for everybody and get them soda. Yeah, my mom was a cool lady, and but yeah, so I don't know what snacks they had back then.
I'm really curious
Yeah,
because I feel
definitely
like there
find
would
out.
still
In the
be like a
80s.
consistency.
Probably,
to it.
yeah.
I would imagine
It's
like
probably
they would
according
have
to
a
taste.
brand. Yeah.
But like, yeah, D&D, Mountain Dew transitioned because Mountain Dew tried to market itself to like sports people because it had more caffeine than other sodas.
Yeah.
It still does. It had more caffeine than other sodas. They realized that like people are not snowboarding and drinking Mountain Dew.
No,
so
because it fuck up your heart.
in the 90s,
Yeah.
they figured out that nerds were drinking a ton of it because it
Yeah.
just tastes like chemicals and it's slowly caffeinated.
And they're not moving too much, so you don't got to worry
right.
about
So
a
they
heart
started
attack.
doing like all the gamer fuels
now, later.
Yeah. But yeah, so I forget. So Jen,
Yeah.
your week.
We'll find that
There's
out.
the history
We'll
of
find that
Mountain
out.
Dew.
You know what? Fuck talking about my week. I'm all about talking about Dew.
Welcome back to the Dewcast.
It's a Dew-mocracy, everybody.
You know how much I love that Co-Red.
Yeah. Ooh.
Real good.
What about Baja Blast? Taco Bell exclusive.
What about the one that
Not-
looks like semen?
Oh, Code Whiteout?
Oh,
Code Whiteout. Code Whiteout.
I think it's just called Whiteout.
I
Code
just-
Whiteout.
Why do they have to do code in front of all of them?
Code Whiteout.
Code Whiten. Well, you drink it.
I heard that was going to be Trump's original campaign slogan.
Code White.
Code
Code
Whiten.
Whiten. Oh, just do the Whiten ballot.
All right, Jen.
Finish.
Oh yeah.
going.
What the fuck was I
No.
talking about?
Your week.
You're talking about?
It was sad, and then we played D&D. And
It was
then-
sad, and then we played D&D, and that was great.
Yeah,
And
we
then I
ended
took
on Italian
I had an
subs.
Italian sub. It was toasted. It was delicious.
Slept a lot.
And then I slept, and then I woke up and I said, oh, yeah, I woke up like all like fucked up, and I was like, Abdul, I'm going to Honey Farms. I'm gonna get snacks. What the fuck do you want?
Smart.
And then he was like grasshoppers, and I was like, what the fuck is that? And
What
he
is a
was,
grasshopper?
They're Keebler Thin Mint.
Blech.
Oh, yeah.
They're dope.
There's nothing
you
I
hate chocolate
more
and
than
mint.
chocolate mixed with mint. There's
Oh,
nothing in the world.
Actually,
I
I
hate more
thought
than
of
that.
you this.
Yeah.
I thought of you the other night because we talked about eating in bed, and we'll go into that. I did a pretty good job with my
Yeah, you were trying to stop it. Yeah.
But I did eat one of those really crunchy granola bars in bed.
Oh, like the
Nature's Valley
yeah,
ones,
it's
the
just
ones
like
that
a
are
piece
just
of
that are just come
particle
out
board
like
with
yeah.
honey on it.
and it's all just like when you open the package, just sprays out crumbs. I had one in bed.
Ah!
And it was, I knew how much it was gonna bum you out to think about, and I was just like, and I was so tired, and I was trying to fall asleep, and then I turned over really viciously, and then just started like trying to, and Abdul was like, "What the? Did you have a granola bar in bed?" And I was like, "No, I'm definitely not. Like I'm sleeping on little rocks right now.
Yeah, just a bunch of honeys and oats.
Whatever." Wake up, and there's just like little crunchy oats all stuck to my stomach and legs. Like, yeah. But what the fuck was I talking about before that? I'm just hanging on by a thread right now. No, I'm fine. But yeah, and then and then on Monday I went to go see my psychiatrist, and I was just gonna be like, talk to her about getting antidepressants because I don't know if I talked about this last time, but last year I was like, okay, if in a year I do everything that I'm supposed to do to be happy, drink a bunch of water, which by the way doesn't do shit except for make you go to the bathroom all the time. My skin is not better at all. Maybe,
Fuck water.
Fuck.
Yeah.
This is an anti-water podcast.
Fuck
Only
water.
drink Mountain Dew.
Oh, yeah. Only
That's what
drink
we're switched to.
authentic 1930s Mountain Dew.
I drink a lot of Mountain Dew. My skin looks great.
Brought to
Yeah,
you by
it
Old
does.
Mountain Dew.
No, do not drink the 30s formula. For a while, they came out with Dew Shine, which was supposedly the original formula. And this guy at this convenience store in the middle of nowhere, I was painting one day, and it was like hot, and he's like, "Have you tried Dew Shine yet, man?" And I was like, no, I'm just trying to buy this Arizona iced tea. And he's like, no, dude, Dew Shine. And I got the Dew Shine, and I took one sip, and I threw it in the street, and it shattered. It was in a glass bottle. It shattered everywhere because that was the only way I could deal with my
Dew
contempt
Shine.
for Dew Shine.
Dew Shine.
Yeah,
oh
fuck
God,
water.
Dew Shine. But yeah, so I was like, I was like, if I start
Oh
to
man,
eat better,
fuck water.
oh man, fuck water.
Dew
Seriously,
Shine, fuck water, man.
It just makes it. I mean, I have to pee like 8 times during recording this podcast.
I mean, look at that. It's clear. It's not even neon green.
It's
What's
not even
the point
green.
of it?
I'm not tempted by this at all.
Yeah.
No, I am. I love.
Oh, I thought it was
love
your
water.
piss.
I love
It's
water,
my
too.
it's clear all the
clear.
time. Or actually, it's neon green. It's Mountain Dew colored because of my B vitamin.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you
I
drink
make
a
the
lot
Dew.
of Mountain Dew, it also makes you pee.
Oh my
green.
God.
I speak from experience.
Jesus Christ! I
It's
didn't
like the
know
fruity.
that.
It's like the Fruity Pebbles crap. if you
You gotta chew your food more.
no. If you haven't done this already, I highly
I'm
recommend
listening.
it. You just for a day only eat Fruity Pebbles. The next day, it looks like an alien took a crap in your toilet.
It's the health cleanse that's
Oh,
sweeping across Hollywood.
I've
The
never
Fruit
taken
Loops.
a like neon blue and green crap.
Oh my God!
That's not true. I've taken several because I've done the Fruity Pebbles.
Welcome to the Crying Gang Scat Hour, everybody. Jen, what'd your poops look like this week?
really healthy textbook.
Yeah.
text?
It
Could
looked
be
like
in
a
a
tell-
dictionary, a
yeah.
It's
medical
all those
dictionary.
Nature's Valley. You're
It's
eating
all those
in bed.
natural, all that fucking fiber, like a champ every time.
Yeah.
In the words of Liz Lemon, BMing like a rock star.
Yeah. There were too many small bits to tell you what it looked like.
They're like little rabbit pellets.
Oh my God, Jesus Christ!
Soak Hudson, call us back.
Hudson, why? Where's our free house?
In the middle of that big development with the market basket, where's our house?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Where's
it's
Rachel?
God damn it! I keep burping too from all these Fisherman's Friend lozenges.
This
Sponsored by Fisherman's Friend, original extra strong.
Ooh,
Yeah.
tastes
It's
like
not.
medicine.
It tastes like bad. It tastes
Yeah.
bad.
Burp, yeah,
I keep
burp over
burping.
the waves.
Excuse me. Sorry.
All right, Jen, we
So-
managed to get you to Monday.
Okay, so to Monday.
I'm gonna
we
stop
still gotta
interrupting you now.
we got a bunch more days to get through, guys. So I went to my psychiatrist. I had too much coffee. I slept way too much. I was feeling all fucked up. And then I got in there and she was like, okay, do you care if a nursing student sits in with us? And I was like, I don't care at all. I always let a nursing student take a whack at me. I let phlebotomy students practice on me all the time. I'm like, take a crack at it. That's the good vein. Because it's like, whatever, I don't care. If you don't care, then it's whatever. And
Yeah.
she was really nice. And I was like, no, I don't give a shit at all. And she was like, I have to take your blood pressure because I prescribe you stimulants. And I was like, just so you know, it's going to be fucking through the roof right now because I'm just like having a panic attack.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay. It was like 150 over 80, which is like, I guess really high. I don't know. It all sounds like jargon to me.
Yeah.
It sounds like bullshit. But she was like, cool, I'm going to make a couple notes that you're anxious today in there. So, but yeah, I was just like, I'm depressed. I think I've just been depressed for my whole life. And I thought for a long time it was because I was poor and I had like kind of a shitty life. But now I have a nice life and I've worked really hard for it. And I like myself, but I'm just like not enjoying anything. And I'm really ruled by my emotions and it sucks. It fucking sucks. I feel like I never know what kind of day I'm going to have when I wake up. I'm just like, it could be super shitty and it could turn really easily.
Yeah.
I bounce back and forth between being like super fucking pumped about something to just feeling like really blank and like just whatever, no thoughts at all. And so she was like, cool, so yeah, you can prescribe you something. It was all set. And she was like, it's gonna make you tired and it might make you nauseous for like a week, and then because you've never taken anything like this before, it should start working within a week. But honestly, I feel less anxious already. I feel like I've had less anxiety all week. I haven't been like, me and Abdul went for a couple walks together and we went out on Friday. We went to
Date night?
Date night. Yeah. I reserved a table at TGI Fridays.
I heard about this. Abdul told me about this while you were
Reserved?
Oh,
smoking
really?
cigs.
Really? Oh my god.
Reserved?
Reserved.
Wow.
You can reserve online.
I did not know that.
Yeah, you can definitely reserve because there was this
Perfect for date nights.
perfect for
Date
date
night?
nights.
Yeah.
We were there for a really long time.
That's awesome.
Can't
Well, you
tell.
reserved the table.
You
Yeah.
reserved the
Like,
table. We got sat like immediately, but like it was literally like we were there for like an hour and a half
Cool.
because it was really busy. When TGI Fridays, yeah, 'cause Crab really wanted this veggie burger that they have there, Beyond Burger, and he had that, and then we went to West Boylston Cinema.
Yeah.
And saw The Shape of Water.
Oh.
Did you
But-
like it?
It was fucking awesome.
It's really good.
It was great.
It was fucking awful.
It was fucking awful. No, but before that, we went and smoked a spliff,
Whoa.
like a
Cigarette and weeds?
yeah, and together. And I'm always just like, no, it's not really. And I'm like, my tolerance for weed is like getting like pretty high, and so I was just like, and then all of a sudden we were just like driving down fucking Route 20, and I was like, holy shit. I was like, I gotta get out of this car. I gotta get out of this car right now. And we got to the movie, and I was just like, I felt like such a dork. I was so baked, and like the fucking teenage girl at the counter, she was like, what kind of snacks you want? I picked the loudest snacks at the movies. I get Milk
yeah.
Duds and Bunch of Crunch, and it's just jingly as fuck
Yeah.
with
I was
crunchy
like- I was
wrappers.
like, how do you eat Milk Duds so loud?
No, but then
Oh,
I
chocolate.
scream.
Oh,
delicious.
chocolate.
You
oh,
guys
my,
ever had a malt ball before?
oh, my teeth. My teeth.
I think I cracked a crown. No, but I scream every time I eat one. No, but they jiggle and they
Oh, yeah.
they go
Yeah.
like gah, gah, gah. And so so we get in there, and I fucking hate
Wow,
the
I'm
way.
not the only one that does good sound effects on
No,
this show.
that's
Oh,
it.
go, go, go.
What's the sound of a box of Milk Duds?
Go, 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 go.
And a shower?
I thought it was wee 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 wee.
No, that was Eric making fun of my
That's the
very
shower
great
that you-
sound showers. You guys have good water pressure. It sounds like this.
We have phenomenal water pressure.
I heard it.
Two
that's-
things I was looking for when I was buying a house: perfect water pressure, not haunted. And
You
this house checks both those boxes.
I
That's
need to
awesome.
before I think about buying this house, I have to stay the night and also use your shower.
Yeah. And if it has poor water pressure, you have to tell me. You don't have to tell me the haunted thing for
I'll
some
figure.
reason,
I'll know.
But you have to tell me about the water pressure.
Is it bad?
What if?
Is the water
It had
pressure
the-
haunted?
What if in this? Yes. What if in this scenario it was the best water pressure you ever had, but it was because the shower was haunted?
It would be a situational thing. I'd have to.
It got like there's a hush as everyone really pondered what they do in that scenario.
I don't know, because you know what?
Everybody at home, email us at thecryinggang@gmail.com
Yeah.
and tell us what you would do if you would prefer an unhaunted low pressure house or a high pressure house because it was haunted.
Would I rather
or
be scared?
a house with regular pressure and no
A
ghosts.
dog died there once.
Do you want just a house? Yeah.
Never.
No.
No.
Yeah.
Also, I'm surprised
But that
this
dog was
place
a
is
murderer.
Murdered a
You,
lot of
you
people.
see his ghost. He just has a knife. in his mouth.
And on that knife is taped a gun.
Yeah, classic dog knife gun.
Knife gun, yeah.
The dog knife gun killer. 37 victims.
He's silent because
We
if he
still
barks,
don't know how he
falls down.
reloaded.
How do we lose
That's
him?
why we shouldn't have high capacity clips. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Dogs don't have fingerprints. He was impossible to find.
Looking at you, Bella.
He left no
dog.
paper trail. That dog stole a car.
We still don't know how he got into it.
What the hell were we on him a week?
I
Friday.
don't remember. Yeah, date
Doesn't
night.
matter.
Yeah, you went to
You were
date night.
high.
were
You were high
TGI
at Shape of
Fridays, yeah.
Water.
I got too
got
stoned at the
loud
Shape of Water.
snacks.
Got loud snacks. We went into the theater. There was only one other dude there, an old dude who didn't realize that we had come in.
He's like, I'm
Until-
here for the fish fucking.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
I heard there was a lady like a fish here. I'm trying to check that out.
Yeah.
Heard there gonna be boobs.
Better be more sexual than Waterworld.
I heard that was right on the poster of Shape of Water.
Yeah, more sexual than
Waterworld.
Waterworld. Yeah. Less horses, maybe?
There was plenty of horses. No, there wasn't any of them. There
That's-
was a guy in the movie though who I was just like, really taken aback. He had a. I
You
know
sound
it
like
was
you're gonna throw up. So
he brought a whole uncovered cake with one slice taken out of it onto a city bus, and I was like, even in the '60s, you can still spill stuff, or whatever time period.
Someone
that
could have
was.
sneezed on that cake.
I know. I'm like, why the fuck aren't you covering that cake? I know
Yeah.
it's supposed to be quirky, but like, put a cover on that cake.
Big bowl.
Big fucking bowl. Put a bowl on top.
Yeah.
Stupid
well,
idiot.
how are you gonna know it's a cake?
You,
Well,
you
I mean, like,
stupid 50s gay idiot.
just for the idea of
trying
like.
to
would
woo the boy at the malt shop with your cake.
I'm thinking about the idea. Would you enjoy it better if he was sitting on there with just? I think it might freak people out more if he just had a casserole dish that you couldn't see what was in it.
Or just had didn't even bother with the plate the cake was on. Just had one slice in his hand.
Yeah.
there
Yeah,
it is.
and it's just like it's like it's all coming out of it in between his a ball.
I brought you this bowl of cake.
Yeah, here's one. Why wasn't he offering people cake on the bus?
I know. He seemed like jolly enough.
I don't know. This Shape of Water movie sounds pretty stupid.
That was pretty much the gist of it. Yeah, it was pretty
I
dumb.
thought for a second too you're talking about the guy in the movie theater.
Oh no, you just had the whole cake.
Why didn't you cover the cake?
I would have sat next to him.
If
Why did
I
you-
ever walked into a movie theater and there's a dude sitting there with a whole uncovered cake, I'd be like, this guy's gonna shoot this fucking place up.
Well,
I gotta
Yeah,
leave.
he's gonna eat his cake and
Even
have
though-
it too.
This fucking guy though, even though he didn't have an uncovered cake, that one in the movie theater,
Okay,
the one
which
we
one are you
actually
talking
went
about?
to see. So Abdul went to the bathroom.
Uh-oh.
I opened a box, of Milk Duds. Oh no, this is what happened first. I feel like I'm stoned right now. So Abdul was in the bathroom, and then the previews were happening, and after every preview, the guy would yell at the screen.
He was by himself?
He was by himself.
Yeah.
He thought he was completely by himself in this theater. And
Oh, he didn't know you were there
He
yet?
didn't know I was there, and he would yell at the previews. So then Abdul came in, and then he must have heard Abdul because he not only looked around but got up, turned his whole body, and stared at us.
Like, stood up?
Stood up, turned around, looked at us, didn't blink, turned right back around, and sat down. And that was not the only time he did that. And I was like, holy shit, I'm going to fucking die here. I was like, this is my nightmare. Luckily, another couple ended up coming in.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool, at least there's witnesses. But
always
it
said-
really bummed me out.
At least there's another group of victims.
At least exactly. They're closer
If
to
I'm
him.
going to be killed, I want there to be a high body count.
Yeah, man. I would think so.
We always used to say, because we go to Showcase North a lot, and there's never anybody there. There's always like only 2 other people in the theater. And we get there early, and it's empty. We're like, we should stand on our seats facing the wrong way.
Oh, yeah.
And when they walk in, they'll be so confused, they'll just leave. Like, I don't think I need to see this movie now.
I guess I'll just.
So I saw
pirate
a really shitty movie. Not to interrupt your week,
No,
again,
it's-
but I saw Ready Player One on Wednesday.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
How
we
was it?
almost saw that.
You
I
said
hated it.
shitty movie, so yeah.
I
guess
hated it
Yeah,
so
I'm
much
glad
I wanted to walk out. I will never read that book now because that movie was so terrible. It was like, hey, you remember this movie? Oh yeah. You remember this video game?
Yeah.
And you remember this quote from this author? And oh yeah, here's a song from the 80s. We'll do that again.
Yeah.
And it was like watching Tumblr the movie, but no tits.
Well, this is the.
Well, you should have seen Shape of Water again if you haven't
when I
seen
make
it.
There's
There's
seen
tons-
tit. There's lots of tits.
There's lots of tits in that.
But there's not Batman and the DeLorean and also King Kong and also
What? That-
Joan Jett and
That sounds like too much.
Ready Player One is their like
sounds like
it's
Hot
the
Topic.
future
It's
and
the
they're in a
opus.
video
It's
game
the
world.
opus of all the nostalgia thrown together. Well, the thing.
So you can be whatever you want. You can be a Transformer if you want, or like the
can
Iron
be-
Giant
How'd
was in
they
it
get
too.
the rights to
You can
all
also be a
those?
Garfield.
It's made by Warner Brothers, so they
Okay,
can
yeah.
only show stuff that have Warner Brothers.
No,
rights.
they actually
but
got-
they
they got-
mentioned Star Wars.
No, they got.
They
They,
don't
actually
show
got. They got. They got rights from a lot of different people.
Yeah.
Actually, like that were like which
Not Disney.
that part
I'll
was
tell you
like-
that.
That part was fine.
It's hard.
The idea that is because I've heard 2/3 of the audiobook for Ready Player One.
Yeah.
And it was fine. This is read by Will Wheaton, who I like 2/3 of. Like, I can only last like 2/3 of any Will Wheaton thing. I got nothing against the guy. I think like I support his career, good for him. He's like great, but I just sort of like get annoyed after a certain period
Yeah.
of his voice, and it's like
Yeah.
nothing against him. It's just what happens. Oh man, when I saw the preview for that movie, it just, like, I don't care enough about like stuff like that, like where it's like, here it is, huh? Like, remember?
Cool.
Like that. Like, did you remember?
It's like, dude, I watched Back to the Future last fucking week.
Yeah.
Fuck
Who
you,
cares?
Steven
Like,
Spielberg.
it's a new thing.
And there wasn't some anime character driving the
I don't-
DeLorean. It
yeah.
was Marty Marty
Marty
Muckin' McFly.
McFluff over here.
You mother muckers. Don't you dare.
They had I watched this thing that was really great the other day about, they were talking about Ready Player One, and one of the issues that the person had with it, and it was this guy who was talking about how they, in the movie at some point, they like dismiss, or it's like a big joke that like some guy likes Nancy Drew mysteries or whatever, and the guy's like big, and I really liked his point where it's like the idea of like, if you're celebrating like a time period, like it's basically, it's like, this movie is only as a key specific group that it's going for of nostalgia, where it's like 30 to 40-year-old white guys, like nerdy nostalgia.
Yeah.
Like that's its demographic. So the idea where it's like,
No room for Nancy.
like, yeah, Nancy Drew is like this big joke, is like, was like, no, this was something from the time. If you're celebrating the whole time and culture, this is part of something of that time and culture that many people very much enjoyed.
Yeah, I guess, I think.
Yeah, my week's been a little bit rambling, but it was after a couple shitty weeks. It was a pretty good week. You know, antidepressants. I got a new, which have been great. I bought some underpants in bulk.
Nice.
Bulk underpants.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the granny panties.
Yeah,
I love them, and they look great on me. Just saying. And then I also got highlights. So, and I
like
also
the magazine.
Yeah, the magazine,
got
and
a
I found all the differences.
I'm curious. I'm
more of a goofus than a gallant.
Yeah. Oh, gallant is the worst.
Gallant. Is
gallant.
it gallant?
It's gallant. Yeah.
Gallant. I know a lot of people.
I like gallant better because that sounds like a name more appropriate for
I know
him.
a lot.
Actually, it's gallant.
It's gallant.
I do my homework all the time.
That's a real goofus moment for me.
Yeah.
Just to drive it home.
Yeah. Gallant asks if its friends want the last cookie.
I pretend like there isn't any.
Yeah.
There wasn't any to begin with. The house just smells like cookies.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. I give it a solid B.
Sick.
A Stalin B.
A Stalin B.
Yeah, Stalin B.
Well,
it's a B for everybody.
It's a B.
What's your Lenin grade? About a Stalin B.
Stalin B. All right, Eric.
Yeah.
That leaves you.
Bum 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 bum.
Time to bring this curve down.
Yeah.
Let's start with I certainly had a week.
You did, buddy.
Yeah.
I had
Having a month. You having a year, but
I'm having a year.
the last few weeks especially have been.
I will say before because it's been a few weeks since we've met up and recorded. So the 2 weeks before that were good. I went to Washington D.C. I went to Chicago. Went to some Comic-Cons with one of my friends, and I helped him sell art, everything like that. It was very great. Like, nice going to these places. You don't really do much. You're at a con.
Yeah.
You stand for about 12 hours, like, talk about how great my friend is. And then,
He's really great.
And then he buys me dinner. So that's how it works.
Awesome.
If I have to talk about how great he is a lot, I order dessert.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of it. Like,
I feel like you're a really good hype man.
yeah, I mean, like, well, because I think it helps that he's just very talented, too. So
you
it's
don't have
not
to lie.
like, and not lie, like, if he sucked, I'd be like,
No, he's all right.
yeah, he's fine.
I guess I'm only getting an appetizer today.
What's your fee? Yeah.
Or just free bread
He doesn't-
and water.
yeah, you can look at the menu tonight.
Yeah.
Ooh, that would have been nice. So that was really fun. That part was really good. I'm gonna get into another lighthearted one, I feel, but still, like, I guess this is definitely a mental thing that, like, it was very interesting for myself to go through. I have since high school considered myself bi. I've never like been with a man, but I've always had that like option, like as an option. Where
Right.
it is, I don't know who I'm gonna meet.
Yeah.
Like if I meet a guy that like just like blows my damn mind, then I'm
And
just
then
like
your dick right off.
yeah, baboosh, and I'll be like, well, I'm dickless, like,
My mindless and
dickless. So here we go. But no, yeah, it's just like like keep the option open, everything
Yeah.
like that. I like I find nothing. But there's an appeal to gay sex that I've seen in the pornographies.
Yeah.
Um,
In the what?
In, my
in the
porno
pornographies,
pictures.
but I've never gone out and like had sex with
Yeah.
a man, and it just never happened.
Yeah.
My friend and I, on one of our nights out, we decided to go. There was a it's Geeks Out is the name of the group, and they had a sort of a pride like dance club night in one of the places in Chicago. So we were gonna go there, and then like we got into the city. It takes because Chicago's huge. It took a long time to get into the city, and then we ate, and then it's like it's like we were tired, and it was like it's a half hour away to the bar, and like we have to like we're Ubering, and it was like a half hour drive to already where we were. So it's like at the end of the night, do we want an hour long trip back? So we ended up going to another a gay bar in general, and it was the best as gay bars are. Like went in there and I was
Fun
like,
environment.
yeah, had a drink and like literally was just like I want to dance, and
Yeah.
was it Robin Dancing on My Own came on?
Oh hell yeah!
And I was like, I've been doing this in my apartment for several years
I
now.
could do this
I'm
with
just
a
ready.
buddy.
So I just like a friend was like, handing back, and then I was just like, well, whatever. And I just went in, closed my eyes, and just started like dancing, and was like having the time of my life. Danced for a while, or whatever. Had a few drinks, and it was great. And that was it, just dancing. And then as we're leaving, my friend was like, "Hey, there's a bathhouse around here that like I've gone to, and bathhouse is like gay bathhouse is like just like sort of
Yeah.
gay sex
Yeah.
area." So he's like, "I would kind of want to go," like, and I was like, "Yeah, that's fine," like, and we're together like hanging out, and he's like, "So I don't know what you want to do for this scenario," and just like, well, like. Then we only have one set of keys to the place we're staying at. You drive and like have the cash, so I guess I'm going. I guess I'm going with you to this house. And so like he's all right. Like, and so we go. He very graciously pays for me.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And it was one of the whole experience is like such a funny thing for myself where, and it's like I'm like so happy these places exist. It was very like there's no judgment. It's just very like it's not uncomfortable walking around. It's so funny how uncomfortable I was walking around in this naked 3-4 place.
Yeah.
But here's what I learned in this scenario, where it's just like I was like coming down from being like a little drunk, and I was tired, and like I was looking around, and like my friend went off go do some stuff or whatever. I was in the jacuzzi for a little bit. It was like just looking around and everything, and then like got back out, and then for the next like 40 minutes to an hour, just boredly walked up and down and looped around, and like there was no like, and I want to like iterate that like there was no like what's going on, there's no fear, there was no like anything, but it's like there's one part it's like jacuzzi's too crowded, I don't feel like going in.
Yeah.
And we're
hot already.
yeah, like in the idea, and just like I sat down a lot, and then like got back up, looped around, drank some more water, and everything, and just the idea where I was realizing, which is like, yeah, like like I still may like I have not been with a man before, but I'm not just going to suck a dick because I'm bored. Like that's not the way I'm gonna like. I'm just gonna be like, well, I guess so. Like, But
We got 20
overall,
more minutes
yeah,
for
and
a
then
friend to
like,
wrap it up.
yeah, and then my friend like he was like, hey man, like okay, cool, like, and I was like, all right, and we left, and it was just like an overall like just very like memorable experience,
Yeah.
like an enjoyable time, an enjoyable memory. The time, like I said, not bad, like just I was bored. I was bored. Being in a sex club when you don't feel like having sex it's like being in a bar, I'm sure, when you don't drink, where it's like, yeah, it's a building. Like,
Sure can walk around it.
Yep. Like,
What a stroll.
what a stroll it was. Like, what a David Lynchy stroll it was. But lovely place. I'd like to give a shout out to Hudson. No, I'm just kidding. So that was a fun little lighthearted thing that happened in the trip. And then we left Chicago, and I got arrested in Indiana. I don't know how much I can talk about stuff, as I feel there's so much I want to talk about this.
We should wait until after your
We are.
shit's
I will.
settled.
Yeah.
I will say, like, I gotta,
Eric didn't do anything that's really a crime.
Yeah.
First of all,
It's a
Victimless.
I mean, technically it's a crime,
It is
but
like, yeah, it's. I got caught with. I feel I should say the,
I mean,
the
this
thing.
is
yeah.
that much you can admit.
This
to
much I
because
can admit because
this
it
is
is a
on
fact,
record.
yeah.
Yes.
I got arrested. I had a bit of pot on myself, and which was not that big of a deal. But I had a
Yeah, the
3
cops were just like, "Thanks, man. We're gonna smoke this shit later."
dope, dude. That's literally dope.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's dope, dude.
But and I do want, like, I'm jesting, but for real, how stupid this is, and not about the police officer who arrested me, but for the
Legally,
fact.
Eric isn't saying that the police are stupid. He was
Yep.
just talking about it's stupid that he had this thing.
Yeah, I had a 3-year-old tab of acid in a glasses case that I had forgotten about until reminded by the person that I was with in the car. And I came clean about it because I realized it was there. It was in a place that he was going to be searching the car. I did not want to lie about it.
Right.
It was 1 tab of acid. It is so stupid to be arrested for that. And I'm repeating again, and maybe this is all because of, like, it's not because of the officer. I'm not blaming the officer. The stupid part is that I had that on me. I do not. It has been over a decade since I have done acid. There is no reason for myself to have had that, and to be arrested for a piece of paper.
Literally, just
Literally,
a scrap of
And a
paper.
a tiny scrap of paper it feels so dumb. It feels so dumb. I have a lawyer. She is wonderful. Hopefully this will we'll see where this goes.
Maximum security.
Yeah.
Solitary confinement.
The hope for me is a fine. Hopefully no jail time. I don't want to not presume that. Like, I understand people saying, like, oh, it's very stupid. It would be, then it shouldn't even be an option. I just don't want to presume it just in case.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't want it, like, a rug. And maybe that's a mental depression thing where
Yeah.
it's like, I can't give myself that hope. But I think that's a realist thing
No,
as well.
I think so too,
like,
because you know what? Also, if you don't have any expectations, then they can't be dashed.
yeah.
Yep.
You know,
like,
that's
yeah.
kind of like
Pretty much any, like, from my head work, like, most any scenario is going to be better than what I'm imagining
Perfect.
Yeah.
will be happening.
That's the only
Is
really
the hope.
good thing about
Yeah.
anxiety.
I
Depression
yeah,
is
I
that
think like I thank
my
goodness
brain will make
I'm
it worse than
depressed.
it could possibly ever be.
But here is one thing that I will say, and don't
I
especially.
just had a really crude joke in my head about that bathhouse in jail.
Oh yeah, yeah. I know, right? Yeah.
You're gonna wish you had sucked a dick out of
I know.
boredom.
At least for yeah, and then I would have done it for boredom. Like, yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that.
We're pro LGBTQT.
100%.
podcast, for sure. I'm just being
100%.
crass. That's
Yeah, it's just like we're also 100% crass.
Yeah. We 100% love the band.
Yeah.
Anarchy forever.
Yeah. No, I cannot legally say that.
Eric loves the system.
I love the system.
He will
The
be
system is great.
persecuted in a just and fair way
Yep, I believe so.
by a council of his peers in Indiana.
There's, yeah. I will say this. For being put into, like, held in, like, a cell, like, for which, the one amusing part that I did take away from this, I was put in the cell, for what would be the amount of time a tab of acid would work on someone.
Shit.
Which is like, I did start thinking about the ideas like maybe that should be the punishment for drugs. Like you get locked up for how long it would like affect you.
Yeah.
like.
Perfect.
Well, then I don't think the punishment for cocaine is severe enough.
Yeah, but here's the thing that I feel about that is the inconvenience of being like locked up for like
20 minutes.
20 minutes continually. Like would just be like, I don't know if I want to. Like, it just really ruins the night vibe. Like, yeah. But here's what I'll say: it really makes you think. It really does. I will say this puts things in perspective. And I mean, obviously, like, so I'm saying this is my last episode as I'm cured of mental health.
You did seem a lot more grounded when you came in here.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that, in a looking back area, I'm gonna be, I am even currently like thankful for this scenario because getting arrested at 35 years old feels dumb. It like I'm sorry for anybody who's been like arrested doing the right thing, but it just feels dumb to be arrested at 35 years old. Sober too,
yeah.
like just like like, but there's a whole new other anxieties when that scenario comes into play.
Yeah.
And so like thinking about so, like here's one that I thought of. It's just like, well, I don't think I'll ever be nervous about asking someone out.
Yeah.
Like and that's like a positive idea where like yeah, the rejection of that is like, all right. Like
Whatever. They didn't get arrested.
I know, yeah. Cool. Next level. The other thing that I'd like to mention too is, this is something I'd very much like to say. I'd like to talk about my mother real quick, because I know I've mentioned some stuff about her, and it's all like I don't take it back any of the things that I said because they're how I feel or how I felt, and it's like genuine. You can't take like that was said. But that being said, this is what I would like to say: is I was so freaked out when I had to tell my mom.
Yeah.
Because I had to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had to. It's my mom.
Yeah.
And because of the idea of like how embarrassing and stupid it is, and the fact that it has to do with like even if it's just a tab, it has to do with a drug.
Right.
And it's like that's like to your mom to tell that.
Yeah.
So I was like, we should meet up, everything like that, and then like so she came like to me, and then on the way before she came over, we were going out to breakfast, but I had taken a shower. This is like okay, like gotta get ready. My mom's coming, and I have to tell her. And at one point, I was in the shower. I was thinking about something that my mom has always said to me, and then it was the truth shall set you free. And I know I've mentioned that on this thing. The truth shall set you free. And like my first immediate thought while I was in the shower was just like, that's bullshit. It's bullshit. Like I told the truth. I wasn't set free. It was the exact opposite. Like it's literally the exact opposite of what she told me. And then begrudgingly I started thinking more about it, and the idea was just like this thing happened. I was honest about it. Yes, I got sent to jail, but there's something that like has clicked in myself right now, which is like I have been very aimless. I've been very day to day, which is fine, but like the
Sometimes
idea
you have to do that to sort of just
yeah,
get by.
Yeah.
and just to go. But there's a lot of time spent, a lot of time wasted, I guess, especially with like the amount I smoke. I have smoked pot and everything like that, where like I've spent large chunks of days just doing this, and it's like maybe, well, definitely this is a time to be like, you know what, I'm gonna cut this out.
Yeah.
For over since I started smoking, since I turned 21, I basically have never gone longer than a week without some sort of substance, and that's like I might be excluding one, but like I'm continuing, and it's only booze and pot, but
Yeah.
it's like, or cigarettes, but it's a continual,
Yeah.
like, and just nonstop, and it's just like, oh, maybe like a non-chemical, like introductory agent into my body. Why don't I give that a whirl?
Yeah.
And so I was in the shower being like, at first pissed, and then like, still pissed, but like, fucking goddamn it, she's right. like in a weird damn way, the truth is making me realize that I need to change my lifestyle, and we joked around about that, but I still admit that the
Yeah.
truth did not set me free.
That time
Yeah,
it did.
no.
That one
Not
time,
at
that
all.
one part,
It
in the
did do the
beginning,
opposite.
that beginning part, it was the
This
opposite.
time.
But so I was terrified, and like I go in the worst case scenario, so I'm like, she's gonna like start hitting me in the car, like, you idiot, what the hell, like stuff like that.
Hitting your 35-year-old
And
child.
a 35-year-old, like, but I just would like to say that she was nothing but wonderful.
Awesome.
And it was
That's
just
great.
like she was loving, stern, and fair,
Nice.
like in like all regards, like
Good.
not in like in the
Real mom
regard,
stuff.
yeah, real mom stuff, where it wasn't like, let me take care of this scenario for you. She was like, that sucks, Eric. And then she like hugged. Cause I got in the car, I was bawling, like, Mom, I'm so stupid. Like, I'm so stupid. I'm sorry. Like, and then she's like, you are not a criminal. This is this is a stupid thing. It's a crime, but no one got hurt.
Yeah.
You have not
Yeah.
done anything. And it just like says like,
You didn't even do the drugs.
I
Yeah,
didn't even
I
do the
know.
drugs. It's just stupid on all accounts.
Like, if you had done the real crime,
yeah,
you wouldn't have had those drugs and
I
got
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In that jail cell with that dude.
Yeah.
His sleeping
Well, I'm
guy.
glad your mom was cool about it, man.
Yeah.
It was like I could not believe like it.
And
just,
we've been
like,
joking a lot about you going to prison, but
Yeah,
I
no,
know.
yeah.
We're really
we
sorry.
support you also.
Oh,
yeah, no, you
like,
can give me a fan.
yeah. I feel, and like I said, I have a lawyer now. Like, it's a very I don't know the policy, so I don't know
Yeah.
if I should say her name or whatever.
No.
She's speaking with her. She's very mom-like,
Yeah.
and it's wonderful. And that's what I was hoping for, and I trust her, and so
Good.
hoping for the best.
Us too.
And once everything is done in any scenario that it comes out, I'm sure we'll have much more to discuss.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
have much more to discuss.
I'm glad you're like taking some positive things out of it.
Yeah, you're real, because literally, like, and I
That's
think
literally the only thing you
that's
can do.
I think
Yeah.
that's the perspective aspect. One of the
Yeah.
things that have changed about that, where it's like, this is my focus.
Or you could go the
And,
other
like,
way.
yeah,
Become a career criminal.
there's the two. I have
Eric became the biggest acid dealer on the East Coast. He sold literally tens of tabs a year.
and so- never more than his age.
Cool.
So, man, I don't know how many times I can get away with doing an inccomplete week, but
I
so
would
let's just say
you
an
can
F.
Have an F.
Yeah, let's just do an F. Like,
Yeah.
let's not sugarcoat this one. Like, I flunked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's all right,
flunked,
bud.
but
Sorry,
I'm determined to get out of summer school by doing extra credit.
Don't worry, buddy. We'll help you study.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
What are we at for time right now?
With the phone call and such in there.
128.
128.
I got like a big thing I'm going through, and I would like to share.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that.
It's going to take a little bit. It's serious. I would like to say, if you're listening to this, I'm about to talk about some sexual abuse stuff, so if that's going to make you super uncomfortable, is this cool with you? I'm springing this. Is this cool with you guys
fine with
right
me.
now?
No, I don't even need it.
I don't need it.
I don't even need it.
But if you
It's an X card
if
joke.
you were
for
No, I know
listening to
exactly.
this,
We just did it at the same time.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this, I'm going to talk about some sexual abuse I dealt with as a child, and so it's going to be rough. I'm probably going to get fucked up about it, but so you can turn it off. It's cool. I totally understand. But so I'm seeing this new person. She was a person I was a friend with. I've been friends with for a while, and now things are progressing towards like a dating thing, which inevitably means sex. Which I have trouble with relationships for an even bigger issues than what I'm going to talk with. But the stuff I'm going to talk about right now is a thing that's difficult, especially I feel like for people to talk about in general. But sex issues are tough for men to talk about. In
some men,
some,
unfortunately, there's some men that just feel.
It's like not
You know what? From the
cool.
bar
Totally,
wise, like
dude.
they
Yeah.
will like just come up and talk to. Maybe it's because of bartending wise
Yeah,
or
well,
whatever,
that's-
but
yeah.
like they, it's okay.
brutal.
But this is not that scenario.
So I'm going to talk about just the sex stuff and
Yeah.
not my bigger emotional intimacy issues from years of a different kind of abuse. But
Yeah.
so basically, I have to tackle this sex stuff now. So I'm only talking about this now because I wouldn't have done this before, but I told this person all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's the first person I've ever told all of this stuff ever because she's my friend, and like I've been doing this all wrong and not making any progress in this arena for 10 more, as long as I've been sexually active. But so I'm like trying to take strides forward. So I'm going to talk about it now because this is the place to do it. And I guess
Yeah.
on the internet for anybody to hear.
Jen's kitchen specifically is the.
So
I made it
have
comforting
I
for
have
her.
trouble with. I'll talk about why, but I have trouble, especially with new partners, especially with partners I like. It is easier for me to have sex with a person I don't like. I have trouble with impotency issues because I don't like sex that much. I find it extremely we kind of talked about this loosely before,
Yeah.
but I find it extremely nerve-wracking. It makes me super anxious, and it's just not fun for me. Fooling around's cool. Like, I'm still like fooling around, foreplay, all that shit I'm good with.
But once it gets
But
to
it's
sex,
like actual
like,
sex, actual intercourse, I have like a ton of anxiety about, and it's awful. And so I'm like having to contend with this, and like I was upfront with this person because like if this is the direction this is gonna go, I'm gonna need to go super slow because going fast just makes me a mess. And so basically how it started was when I was a kid. I have a creepy uncle. A lot of people have creepy uncles. He never physically abused me that I remember. Again, this is like a weird thing because it's like things point towards more abuse, but it could be repressed. So like
Yeah.
it could be like 10 years from now on the walls. And I am a person who definitely puts up walls and blocks this stuff off. So who knows? But as far as I'm concerned, this person never physically abused me. But when he was too close with me, and we would hang out, and he would tell me about sex stuff, and I was like 4 or 5 years old, so I knew way too much, and I'm smart and remember things and process things even then, so I knew way too much about sex and blowjobs and all kinds of shit that as a 5-year-old I should not have. He showed me pornography. It's like, it's all abuse. That's all abuse.
Yeah.
So,
All of it, yeah.
so like I'm entering into my child years, and I have this weird amount of knowledge about sex that I shouldn't have. Like, that's just not how you should find out. And then my parents got divorced, which is fine. Like, even as a child I was bummed out about it, and I'm sure there were some issues then, but like I'm never like, oh, my parents got divorced and ruined my life. It was for the best for both.
Yeah, there's
It's like-
so many scenarios where, like, some people aren't meant to be
Right.
in that relationship together.
So I'm about 7, and the problem is that my parents, when I am 7, are in their late 20s. So they're trying to fuck. They're trying to find new people to fuck.
Yeah.
Which is fine, but the problem is that they switch off weekends with us, and because of that, the weekends we stay with either or are the weekends that they also have off from work,
Yeah.
which is also the times they're trying to date. So in the same 2-year span, my parents both had, and so my mom was seeing this dude who was a live-in nurse for this old man. So they just had one room. So we would stay with him on the weekends before he moved in with us.
Yeah.
So we would stay in the bed, and they would sleep on the floor. But they would also have sex in the same room as us. And I was like 7. And it's compounded because now I have all this knowledge. So it's not just like, oh, they're making weird noises.
Yeah,
or
what's
moms
that?
are-
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like know they're having sex. I know I'm dealing with my parents' divorce, and I know it's a thing that like moms and dads do together, or
Yeah.
people that love each other. So now there's this like new dude who I fucking hate anyway, and he's not my dad who rules. And so this leads to this like weird talk with my mom because I like it happens a bunch, and then I'm like, hey, like I had like a like breakdown about it.
Yeah.
And so we like me and my mom went for a walk, and I found out that like her parents were divorced, and the dude I thought was my grandfather, who is a piece of shit, my step grandfather, is not my grandfather, and my real grandfather like abandoned my family. So
Yeah.
now I find this out when I'm 7 too. And then that same year, my dad starts dating the person who would be my stepmom, and we would stay. My dad was living at my grandmother's house at the time. And even though there were other rooms in the house, we would stay with my dad in my dad's room on cots. And they also had sex in the same room as us.
God.
And I had to have an outburst and have to have all these fucking weird talks. And around while this is all happening, also, I'm living in this apartment complex in Pawtucket, this apartment building. And there's this girl that lives across the hall from me who's like, I don't remember exactly how old she was, but she was probably only a couple years older than me. She's like 9 or 10 or whatever.
Yeah.
And like looking back, I know that obviously this person was a victim of sexual abuse. Also, like it's just these things are secular, and like it just it has a habit of like happening to the next person in line.
Yeah.
And so this girl we would hang out and like play, and she would like make our toys have sex with each other in really weird and violent ways. And then we would hang out, and she would like kiss me and force me to touch her in bad ways, and she would touch me back in bad ways. So I leave my early childhood. Oh, and then so that happens. So now I've like been physically sexually abused by this person. And then around 9 or 10, my mom marries this dude. And these are like very chaotic years that I will get into later. There's like a lot of abuse and drugs and physical domestic violence. But a big thing that was happening also was my aunt, who was a heroin addict. Her and her kids moved in with us. And this is like some of the stuff that led me to a lot of my abandonment issues and like being a people pleaser, because I just got like lost in the shuffle because I was expected to be good, basically. And I was emotionally taking care of my mom while my stepfather's like out cheating and hating her, and they're just getting arrested. And my aunt and stepfather start having an affair while they're in the house, and I see them having sex one time. And there's all this other stuff that happens. And then one night there's this big domestic violence incident, and my mom gets arrested because of it, because she goes to fight back and swings, and my stepfather ducks, and she hits my aunt. My aunt calls the cops on my mom.
Oh my god.
My mom goes to jail. And then the next day we're supposed to go meet with my dad, and they tell us we can't tell him my mom's in jail, that she's working. The whole way to meet my dad, we would meet halfway. They made out in front of us, like my step dad and my aunt. And so like now I know all this. I have this secret. So I leave my prepubescence like feeling fucked up about sex. Like I'm interested in it, but also I have no real desire to pursue it. It's just this mess for me. And then when I'm like 17, I start dating this girl who, this is like another big story, but I'll just go over the sex stuff for right now. But I date this girl who's like very mentally ill also, and she's a victim of sexual abuse also. So I go into it like curious about sex, but also like hesitant to do any of it. And I don't have any like real sex drive. Like I watch porn and I masturbate, but it's more of a de-stress thing than an actual sexual thing for me. Because my sexuality is all fucked up now. And then, but her sexuality, her self-worth's all tied into her sexuality and just pleasing men because she has so many years of abuse. So when we start dating, I don't know any of this, and she pressures me into sex. Like there's a day specifically I remember she's like trying to fool around, and I'm like, I just don't want to do that right now. And then she like breaks down and cries, and it's like, why don't you like me? Why don't you want to do this with me? And I don't know what's going on. Neither of us know what's going on, because she's like doesn't realize that all the sexual abuse is why she's like this and needs to be like this.
And you can't talk about it. Like.
And then that fires up my weird emotional, so I just let it happen. So now I'm just like, not raped, but like, whatever. So like, it's not good. I just shouldn't have done it. So it fucks me up more. And now this happens a couple times, and now my self-worth's all fucked up with it. And then she starts seeing a counselor, and we start dealing with her sexual abuse together. But I never come clean about my sexual abuse. And it starts this cycle where also she had been in an accident and displaced her hip. So not only is sex emotionally painful for her, but it's physically painful also. And it starts this weird cycle because our self-worths are now so caught up with pleasing this other person and sex being an important part of that, and like people who love each other have sex all the time. So we get into this cycle of like pressuring each other into sex, and it just always ends with her crying.
Yeah.
Which creates this like, so now when I have sex with people, I have all this anxiety because in this relationship especially, I was a victim of sexual abuse, but also I was a sexual abuser, even if I didn't know that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
And even if it wasn't maliciously, I did commit sexual abuse against another person. So, and because of who I am, I have all this guilt and like shame that just from all of it. And so now when I have sex with person, especially a person I don't like, which is fucked up because for years I would get by, like when I would have the rare, like I need to have sex with someone, I would just go out with, like I would go out on a date with someone I didn't like that much, and if they wanted to have sex with me, I would go for it, because then I had less anxiety about it because I didn't care if they were burnt out, which is fucked up. It's like an abuser mentality.
Yeah.
But it's like, it wasn't to be malicious. It was just like, that's just what it was. And a few years ago, I dated this girl who was like my friend, and it was like an issue. And then it was a mess, and she like didn't understand. Her life wasn't as chaotic as mine, and just my mental illness was like a problem anyway. So then the sex got tied up in it again, and then now when I have sex with someone I like, when I get past the hurdle and like can actually have it happen and like get past, it fucks me up emotionally because now I get so tied into it. And so that's like what I'm dealing with now with this girl. And the girl I'm seeing now has been like super supportive. Sex is very important for her, but she's been like very supportive and like taking it easy on me and like been cool. And it's weird to like be taken care of. It's like a weird,
you're not
like,
used to that.
Like
that's
she like gives a shit and is like trying to not bum me out. And like regardless of like where this is headed or like what happens when the dust settles, like, you know, it's still like early on and it's not anything serious, but like I'm having to like contend with this seriously now because avoidance and also having sex with people I didn't like didn't work. And then last summer I decided that exposure therapy was what I needed to do, so I got Cialis from my cousin because he was on one of his bipolar medications made him impotent, so they gave him a bunch of Cialis.
Yeah.
Because men's health is more important than women's health, and you can't have free birth
That's,
control.
Sure
my
know that.
dick doesn't work, give me 900 Cialis, please.
Give me blue pills for red pills.
Yeah, exactly. So he got on a new medication where he didn't need it, and he found out that I was trying to do this, and he's just like, oh, here, have all this Cialis. So I just had like a bottle and a half of Cialis, and I had a bunch of meaningless sex last year, and it's not characteristic of me, and it doesn't help because it just made me feel shitty the whole time. So nothing I had done has worked, so I was just very straightforward with this person I'm seeing now and told her everything I just told you guys, and it's been cool. It's still a problem. Like, we've gotten over the first hurdle where like, but now there's just so much anxiety tied up in it, and I'm now that like it's happened, I can feel. Before I was like more not casual, but like less like caught up and sick about this, and I can feel like the neurotic starting to happen, like, oh, it's been 4 hours since she texted me, she hates me now. And like I'm doing the thing now too where I do in other relationships, or when I'm talking to girls that I'm really into who are like damaged and fucking with me, not on purpose, but like are like a fucking, where like in between hanging out with this person now, I just convince myself they're not interested in me at all.
Yeah.
Like that I'm awful, especially now that like some of my shit's on the table.
Yeah.
It's like, and I honestly, like, I was so terrified to tackle this that I was like, this is the responsible thing to do, but also I was hoping when I laid what I just laid out on her, she'd be like, that's too much. Because I was
I'm
like,
out, and then it's easy out, like, and then in a sense,
stop it. So I gave her the out.
In a sense, easy out. Not what you want, but then you like, I don't have to think about this anymore.
Yeah,
it's
I could
done.
Go back to not having sex for like a year or two.
I think the thing is like a lot of people say that, especially with you know, like even like, you know, stuff like this with like alcoholics, other things like that. They say that the hardest part is the telling of it is like the first time is the hardest part, and I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think it's the most important part, obviously, but I think, and it's just personal, this is nothing, it's like, I feel that the hardest part is once you've admitted it, realizing the fact that it's like, oh, it doesn't go away though.
No.
Like that's the hardest part.
And even
is
now
the
that
like,
I'm over this first hurdle, it's like,
what do you do
sex
now?
Is still
like,
anxious, like
Yeah.
anxiety inducing.
And
So
it's-
now I
and
have to
it's-
get. I'm comfortable enough with this person to do it, but now, now it's like nerve wracking because I'm still having all this anxiety, and also now there's like, I feel pressure to like perform well, also.
yeah,
and
you,
like
you can get easily frustrated
Yeah.
too. The idea is it's like, well, it's like I've discussed this. This should be fine now.
Yeah.
Like, why
Yeah.
isn't this fine now?
right, I
like,
did the thing. I
I
talked
did the
about
thing.
It.
The
Yeah.
hardest
And I
step.
think
like,
I think that's like, it's just I think that's a big part of anything.
Right.
Is like I'm coming to realize that with a lot of my own stuff is just like, okay, cool, like I'm starting to talk about it, but like it's not fixed.
That's
That's-
just the beginning.
It's
that's
just
what
a-
I felt.
yeah,
with, like, it's
and I-
like, oh, go ahead. I'm
no,
sorry.
no, you go.
Oh, I was just like
Go
with
ahead.
like in the therapy idea was like, you know, when you go through your past, I was like going to talk about stuff with my dad, and when I was doing that, and so it's like I've talked about it. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I've realized that some of these things are why that I'm like this.
Yeah.
Now what?
Yeah,
like
now
now,
you're just-
I
now it's just
know.
on
Now
the
I
surface.
just
Well,
know,
I've
and
admitted
it's
it.
there.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
But there's no. I'm sure there are, but like it's very, very rarely. I feel it's like, well, can you give me some advice of steps I can take to
Right.
start
Yeah.
deleting this,
And I
or
think
like
that-
not deleting it, but like accepting it, being more comfortable
And
with the
finding
fact
a
that
way
this
to
is an
get
issue.
finding a way to work through it without just like pushing it back down
Yeah.
underneath, you know,
Yeah,
because it's on the surface now, you want to take care of it now, but it is, I think that it's okay to realize that something is going to be a part of your life, but you can make it better,
Exactly.
Yeah.
you know.
And some things too, where it's like you think of like basic wounds is the idea was like you gotta let it scab over sometimes too, which I guess like would sort of like, does that feel like putting up a wall?
Yeah.
But like that sometimes that's the like because it's going around like like because I did this I remember like when I first like had like discussions with therapists about like my father going, and then like I'd just start being like, this happened with my dad to people,
Yeah.
and then it was like, okay, like I'm just telling everybody and now like I don't know if
Well, that's what happened because like I confessed all this stuff like last week to her or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was like via text. It just like I wanted to do it in person. We were
Yeah.
supposed to have this talk.
Yeah, I
but
remember-
we just
yeah.
both kept avoiding it, and we just didn't talk about it because it's easier. And then instead, just the way the conversation went, it was like, I need to do this now. I feel like I can do this now. So I like texted it, and like I was like a shaky mess.
Yeah.
And like nobody was there to see it, thank God. But I like literally just like had a mental breakdown in my bed afterwards. I was like sad and like almost actually wept. And
Yeah.
but it's way easier now. I'm just like a little shaky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I've like already done it once.
Yeah.
Like some of that stuff, like she was the first person that knows about it. Other than like obviously people who
who are
directly
involved, like yeah, like like shitty stepdad,
there's
I'm
nobody-
sure knows, like yeah,
There's like nobody who knew all of those things.
Yeah.
There's nobody in the world. And
Yeah.
now she did, and then it's easier to do this, and it's just like it needs to happen to take these forward steps because even if things don't work out with this person, because like you never, she's cool, but like it's still early on, but this is what I need to keep doing to get better because I need to keep having these like honest and hopefully positive experiences to like get over. And I'll never, I don't think it's a thing I'll ever get over. I'm like never, I'm not gonna
Like,
wake
fully,
up 5
like,
years from
yeah.
now and be like, I love sex a lot and I'm just gonna do it and it's
Yeah.
cool. Like that's
Yeah.
just not. But like I'll be more and more comfortable with it and like feel less fucked up and shameful
Yeah.
and guilty and awful. Because like now every time I go to have sex with a new partner, it's like this person doesn't want me to do this to them and they're gonna cry and I don't want to really do it either.
yeah,
So what's the point of all of this?
Yeah.
But it's what's expected. But then that person might actually want to do it, and like eventually I'll get to a place where I will enjoy it with this person. It just takes fucking forever.
yeah. The sex is a weird thing anyway.
Yeah.
Like I like I would like to like reiterate the fact just like people should not feel weird about how like their sex like
yeah.
feel
Yeah.
like just like it's got in a standpoint of what sex is of two people going into each other. That's a weird thing.
Yeah, that's fucking weird.
But like yeah, like it's not like weird to be into it like anything like that. But yeah, there's like sex is it's the guy I can't relate in like the in all areas of it. The part that I can relate to is the full on just anxiety during
Yeah.
the act itself, like especially like the fooling around beginning part is like
That's cool.
great and awesome.
Yeah.
Like,
I know I'm good at that
yeah,
stuff.
and it's great. But like when it comes to like, oh, we're getting serious,
Yeah.
then it's just like, well, get ready to hear some apologies.
I just
like
hear the-
before, during, and after.
It's not
Like,
even like total performance anxiety for me. It's just like this crushing, awful abuse stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
like when it goes to happen, like I almost hear like the Kill Bill, like the bride's about to kill everybody
Yeah.
in my head, like, and I just feel like hot and bad
Yeah.
and like,
dun, dun, dun.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my big awful share this week.
It was. I think
Thanks,
it was
guys.
a big, wonderful share.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
sharing it with us.
Yeah,
and
thank
I'm
you very much.
Sorry about everything
okay,
for
man.
everyone, for
You
both,
didn't do it
all
to
of
me.
us.
Are
No,
you
just
the
in
girl
general.
from my apartment building?
Sorry.
I have to let you know.
No, God,
I know you. I know you
No.
obviously haven't recognized me, but I'm your evil stepdad. I'm a lot shorter. I'm assuming.
So another story about an example of what a piece of shit this guy was.
Yeah. Stepdads are the worst. I'm sorry if you're a good stepdad, but you're
I
not.
have a great stepmom. There are good
Stepmoms are great.
There are good step-parents out there.
Yeah,
but,
there are.
So my evil stepdad, one day he's like, I'm young. It's only like 10. It's like during this crazy, crazy time.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, bud, I'm going to enter this car in the demo derby. I was like, cool. He's like, do you want to help me come? Because he was a mechanic for BFI for like the dump trucks.
Yeah.
He's like, do you want to come to the shop today and help me get it ready? I was like, whoa, that's like so weirdly nice of you. Yeah, man.
that's
let's
cool.
do it. That sounds cool. Like, you're trying to bond with me? Cool. So we go to his shop. He pulls the car in. He takes a sledgehammer and throws it through all the windows and goes, vacuum up the glass. I'll be back in a couple hours. And I just vacuumed up safety glass from the inside of the car. That's the kind of guy this guy was.
Jesus fucking Christ. What an asshole.
Oh,
What
okay.
is
The
Okay.
fun part.
You're small. You can get in between.
Oh
You
my
can get
God.
underneath the dash.
It's literally just me in like cutoff shorts as like a small boy with a shot back, like trying not to get cut while I vacuum up all the safety glass.
The part that was like disconnecting, I guess, for me real quick was that I thought he had pulled into the garage and then like thrown a sledgehammer through the windows of the garage
no.
and
Of
then
the car.
drove away.
Because the demo derby car can't
I
have
know.
glass.
I thought he was like full on lying
No.
to you about the other. Like, we're not even doing a car thing. Like,
We're getting new windows. We didn't want to pay for them
Fuck
to
you,
get them
little
taken
kid.
out. Yeah. That guy was a real piece of trash.
Oh.
Oh my God.
My mom married him 2 times.
Oh my God.
Because the first time and all that shit happened, and then they broke up. And
once for the trash, once because you got to recycle.
this was like a good thing my parents did when, and like I'm grateful for I hated my stepmom when I was a teenager. I didn't hate her, but she was like.
There's anger. There's
And
yeah.
my parents are fucking. My dad and stepmom are saints because they went from having no kids except part time to having like the same year we moved in with him. So my mom was like, "Hey, I'm gonna get back together with your stepdad." We were living with my grandmother and not my mom's mom because they didn't get along then, but like my biological dad's mom. We
Yeah.
were living with them, me and my mom and my little brother. And she's like, I'm gonna get back together with your stepdad. We have this like big family meeting with my biological father, and they're like, my mom's like, we just wanted to give you the choice. I was like, Dad, like before that,
Whatever, yeah.
and like I saw my mom's heartbreak, but I like knew that was the conversation. So I got to move in. We got to move in with my dad because of my stepmom because she's very financially responsible.
Yeah.
She taught my dad how to be financially responsible. She's
Nice.
a nurse, so we were allowed to. So we moved in, and at the same time, my cousins, who were like my brothers basically from this point on. Who are my stepmom's nephews. Their mom is bad and like has drug problems, so they're also living with us most of the time. And my stepsister, who my stepmom gave up for adoption when she was a kid, finds my stepmom through the internet and starts visiting
yeah.
out during the summers.
Yeah.
So my parents go from 0 full-time kids to like just from kids on the weekends and like living this like, oh, we're like in our late 20s and early 30s and we like have all these kids we see every other weekend, but then most of the time we don't have kids to 5 kids and 4 of them are pubescent boys with mother issues. It was like a penitentiary.
Also,
Yeah.
I really like that story, and I've been laughing about it for weeks, about that wet washcloth that you would all
our
wipe
table
your
washcloth.
faces
Yeah, we
with.
never had napkins or paper
I
towels. When we
love-
were kids, we just had a damp
I love
washcloth.
it
we would
so
all
much.
wipe our faces with.
I still laugh about it. Sometimes if I'm having like a bad day, I just
I'm glad
think
you
about
like
that.
it. I just feel like it
Just the way-
relates us as trash people.
No, I just love it. It's just really cute.
Yeah.
It's just,
Just like wiping spaghetti sauce off our faces.
Spaghetti.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Oh man,
So,
if you're
yeah.
the last one with the spaghetti towel, I pity you.
Yeah, you know what? It's a soaking mess. So, too much ragu. Too much ragu. But yeah, so I don't know. We can get into all that other stuff because all that stuff leads into like my emotional codependency and why I'm a people pleaser, and like my mental illness is biological, but it's also like there's some
There's
Situational.
outside
That really
agents
caused
that
it,
like.
yeah.
I think that I feel that like
it really
there's
shaped
nobody.
it and molded it into
Yeah.
this fine
Yeah,
point of
there's nobody that like I feel unless you just were like, well, even if you were just put in a room and just like that is a scenario that would mentally mess you up. So it's like the idea is like yeah, whatever like biologically is going on with
gets
yourself.
compounded
Yeah,
by-
with everything else, like your
also because
decisions,
it colors,
your actions,
it colors your
like,
worldview. So like everything you're taking in is being put through this lens of mental
Yeah.
illness,
and things you
usually
do
it's
is also
unhealthily-
getting put
yeah.
through there,
and
then
you're doing stuff
going back.
because of those
and that
things.
and that comes back to you, and then you have to deal with that freaking stew.
Oh yeah.
The stew.
The stew. Welcome back to the stew.
This is now the stew.
The soup.
I'm Laser Bones.
Yeah.
And this is the stew.
With our good friendship with Joel McHale, we were able to take the name of the stew.
Yeah. So, anybody got anything else they want to share? I'm sorry. I'm
Legally, no.
No.
I guess we'll sign off. We need a sign off thing.
I feel it should be something Mountain Dew related.
Yeah.
You want it, Jen? Well, did you have an end phrase yet?
Sure don't.
There it is.
Sure. I think we did that one last time.
Ah, dang.
I'm going to say, welcome. Thanks for listening, and welcome to the new Dew-mocracy.
Yeah. Brought to you by Dew Shine and Hudson.
Fuck Dew-shine.
Yeah. But don't fuck Hudson.
We love you, Hudson.
Yeah.
The taste that's new with the airborne crust of rocket fuel. There ain't no doubt nothing tastes like you. The power